Well, hello, 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 ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Who all do we have here with us tonight? We have Hollis, Sammy, What is True, Char, and last but not least, Becca. How you ladies
Hello.
doing tonight?
Good.
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
You know, I can never complain. I'm blessed. Every
Hi,
morning I wake up is
everybody.
good. Hello, Hollis.
Hello, Regina. Hello, Sammy, Becca, Shar. What is true? Nice to have all of you here tonight. I'm very excited. It's our first live. I'm super excited.
Me
Me
too.
too.
Our first official. This is not a test. One, two, three. All y'all oxen free. Okay, so ladies, I'm going to give y'all the lineup for tonight so y'all know what we're going to be talking about and stuff. Um, I'd like to start off with Robert Card because, as y'all know, we like to do spotlight stories and pull different people's stories, the stories that matter to them and why they matter to them. And we like to cover as many of those stories as possible, but still get all the information out about them that we can. And What is True has presented the Robert Card case. She has put in the work, she has done her due diligence. So, we are going to give her her spotlight moment tonight. And we are going to cover that. And then we are going to cover the Audrey Cunningham case. And if it's okay, I would like to take a moment before we end the stream tonight and have a moment of silence for her and her family, especially her mama, because you know that woman's going through a lot. Okay, and then we're going to cover a little bit of um, Harmony Montgomery because the verdict come out today, and I think we should take a little bit of time to talk about that. Oh no, where'd What is True go?
She'll be back. She got her new phone today.
Yeah, she did. Oh, she, you
So
know,
Robert Card, uh, that was in the state of Maine,
yes, he was the main shooter. Yes. In
Lewistown,
Lewiston.
Lewiston.
Yes. Yes. So I would like to, if it's okay, I would like to share this really quick and read this to you guys. Okay. So Lewiston mass shooter. Oh no, this is the wrong one. Ah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're a work in progress. We are a work in progress.
Well, what is true? This happened in her in her neck of the woods.
Right. Well, I think this story has a, yes, it happened right in her backyard, like almost literally right in her backyard.
Check back, Sam.
And yes. Oh, she is. She's back. Good. Okay. I'm going to let her explain to everyone really quick, if that's okay, why this story is important to her. Okay. Um, Crystal, are you there?
Yes.
Awesome sauce. Can you tell us why the Robert Card story is so important to you and um what actual real life role it played in your physical life?
Sure. So for me, when this happened, um, the world kind of went off its axis in 2020, and life changed for everyone. And some of us had a new appreciation for life and what we had to offer, and others maybe got lost. You know, um, so when that night happened, I can remember I was sitting on my porch and I heard all these sirens. There were so many sirens and it was just instantaneous. And I remember looking at my phone and my daughter sent me a message and said, somebody is shooting at the bowling alley. And so then uh, my first response was find out where everyone is. And so that's what I did. And um, then they showed the picture of um, him. I don't like to say his name, but um, the picture of him walking in the bowling alley holding his AR-15. And it's so, for me, I wasn't there, but that photo, it's so um, disturbing, and it causes me to almost be physically ill because I cannot imagine what the other people thought. I mean, when he first went into the first bowling alley, there was an estimate of 70 children in there with, 40, possibly 40 adults. So there was a lot of people in there, and I can't imagine the fear. And for me, it's like when I go to the store, you look at people and you make eye contact and you wonder, you can't help but wonder, were they affected? Because everybody is connected by six, six. Um, and I wonder about their pain. I wonder if they have the fear, because I know when I go in a store, I had fear before, but when it happens in where you live, and it's this fear that you can't describe. It's almost paralyzing. You go, like, I'll have an anxiety attack before I go into the store, and the whole time I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm getting. I'm focused on getting in and getting out. And I
Right.
have an exit route, like I'm thinking of how can I leave, so I cannot imagine having family members and friends that were lost, and the last thing they saw was that man walk in with that long rifle and just open fire. It's devastating, and my heart breaks every day for them. Every day, I can't imagine. And it's hard. It's hard. It's for me, it's made me be more conscientious. I smile more at people. Um, I'm kinder to people because I don't know what they're going through. I truly don't. And I don't want to make someone else's day that's possibly bad even worse, because it's hard and it's difficult and the fear is real and it's paralyzing, and it's, I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same person I was before the shooting. And
I bet you won't.
and then to
I
find
I, I
out
wouldn't.
and then to find out it was preventable. This man, this monster, um he was very vocal. He was very vocal in saying what he was capable of doing, what he wanted to do. He thought people were talking about him. Um and they've recently sent his brain away to be looked at to see if he had brain damage or whatever. But you know even though I consider him a monster, he still, he was very, I don't know if he was looking for help or looking for somebody to acknowledge him, but they didn't. There was outer state officers, hospitals, the National Guard, um, local police department, state department, sheriff's department. They went there and they ignored it. And his family members came forward, his friends came forward, his coworkers came forward because he told everybody what he was going to do. He wasn't silent about it, and he was ignored. I don't know if they thought, well, he's just spouting off. No, he wasn't, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And it's a shame. It's a shame because 18 funerals came out of that. 13 wounded people. One man used his body as a shield to save all those children. He was shot 7 times from his pelvis down. 7 times. I can't even imagine the hysteria, the nightmares. This happened 6 days before Halloween, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and these children, they're scarred for life. The children that were there and they witnessed their parents die, their grandparents die, their brother or their uncle, it's just it's changed so much. It'll never be the same. I'll never be the same ever.
If it's okay, I would like to let me pull it up here real quick. Let me see if I can pull it up. I have to close this for just a second and we're gonna
Well, I
I
remember
wanna
when it was.
show go ahead in just a second, Hollis, but I would like to show everyone just how in your backyard this event truly was, if that's okay.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
okay. So everyone can be um a little more understanding of how um truly close to this situation that what is true was, and maybe appreciate from her perspective a little bit what it's like to be um in a situation like this where there's literally someone on the loose that has committed this atrocity. Okay, what is true? This first one, if I'm not mistaken, this is from your your back
Porch.
porch.
Yeah, this is my back porch, and I go to the front, and you can see as I walk down, you'll see the front of my yard.
For everyone coming in, we're doing our spotlight first for what is true with the Robert Card story. Um, and let me replay that again. Hold on. Okay, if you mind, Crystal, just a second. If you don't mind, just a second, if you could explain to us a little bit better. Hold on, we're new to this, everybody. We're new at this, so we're gonna have a few mistakes in here. I apologize about that. Um, if you could explain to us a little bit better what was going on right there in that footage that we just
Um,
showed from your back porch.
well, they were fueling the helicopters right there. So one would, I mean, and there were so many. There was just helicopters, and it was a staging area. Um, it was just insanity. The sirens didn't stop for days, and the helicopters were just day and night because had to come here to refuel to go back to Lewiston. Which, if you go on the, I live right by the highway, so you jump on the highway and you're in Lewiston in 4 minutes. So it's 4 minutes away, and all of that was the highway was blocked off, and because they were looking for him and they didn't know where he was, so that was also very frightening. Can you imagine? Well, I mean, it happens every day in this country, unfortunately, but yeah. So that was where they were refueling the helicopters, and they had, you know police and stuff over there, so for staging purposes, it's
Okay.
basically.
And how long, what is true? Can you refresh my memory? How long was this guy on the loose for after the shootings?
Well, the shooting started, I believe, around anywhere from 7:10 to 7:15 on October 25th, and he was caught on the that Saturday. Well, he wasn't caught; he was found, but he had died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But he had waited until that morning, Saturday morning. They believe he had done it, but I mean, he was surrounded, and you can
Yeah.
see where I was in one of my videos, and it's just surrounded. There was no place for him to go. And I mean,
Well,
I have speculations of why he chose that spot and what his intentions were, but they kind of didn't work out for him.
right, because I remember the footage all day long of people searching in that area, law enforcement for Robert, for this guy.
Yeah, yeah, and they couldn't see, he went to the place where he was found because he was an employee there. So he parked his car and after the shootings, and he walked on the railroad tracks, and it was less than a mile from where he was found, but he went into where he worked. He was an employee or an ex-employee. He'd lost his job 2 weeks ago, and I don't think that he might have thought that they were going to catch on to where he was right away, because
Right.
I believe that he was going to open fire when all the employees came in the next day. I also believe that that was one of his, you know, list of people that he was going for. And because they shut the area down, he was kind of locked down, and I guess maybe he thought there was no way out and he wasn't going to have any more victims, so he
Right.
decided that his span was over. I'm not
Well, I
sure.
read in an article how many times he had told people that he was hearing things, and then he got a hearing aid, and then he felt like it was because of that he was hearing things, but he was denied a silencer, like, what was it, 5 days before the incident occurred at a gun store?
um I'm not sure. I
He was
can't.
denied the purchase of the silencer.
I know that the place that he did purchase the gun 2 days before also. I'm not sure if it's the weapon that he used, but I mean, this man had several. I believe it was up to you know, several guns. But he had 20 years
Several
of,
weapons, right.
yeah, he had 20 years. He was a grenade, he taught grenades. Uh, that's what he did in the National Guard training, grenade training. That's what it was.
Grenades?
Yes, and so that was why he had the hearing aids, because he thought that maybe possibly, um, they thought maybe possibly he could have had brain damage because of what he did. Um,
Hold on just
but
Like
a second.
loss of hearing?
Hold on. Right.
Loss
I
of
would just like
hearing.
to say for everyone coming into the stream live, we are talking about the Robert Card case. At the moment, we have What is True, Hollis, Sammy, Char, and Becca with us. I think Becca's still with us. Oh no, we lost. No, she's here. And
I'm
we're
here.
Robert Card case. We're going to cover this. And then here in just a little while, we're going to get into covering about Audrey Cunningham. um, it's been really hard for me to cover Audrey Cunningham because it is so heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. But we are going to cover all the updates and everything that we've heard and everything that we have news wise here in just a little bit um, for Audrey. But right now we're talking about the Robert Card case and we're going to follow up with Audrey here in just a little bit. Okay. I
Can I
appreciate
say
y'all.
And
something real quick?
I just wanna give it I just want to give a shout out to our mods, Midwest and Low 12, and to Paige and Kelkel. Hi, girls. We've missed you forever and a day. And to Kathy and Tom. Thank you guys for being here. And Miss Brazzy 604.
Yes.
And
Kathy,
Janine Simmons.
yes, and
Shout
Kel
out
Kel,
to
I'm seeing
you.
everyone. And Tom Vaughn, thank you for joining us. We see y'all. Thank y'all so much. We
Shout out to all
appreciate
of
you
you
guys.
guys.
We are greener than green. We are brand spanking new. Um, but I've literally learned how to make videos and go live on YouTube within the past 2 weeks. Like this was nothing I ever planned out doing with my life until circumstance changed and Hollis was like, Regina, we gotta start a YouTube. And I was like, yeah, okay, Hollis, we're gonna do this. And then Hollis was like, well, we gotta put it off. And I'm like, Hollis, I'll be ready in 2 weeks on Thursday. Mark your calendar. And here we are. So welcome to Crime Chat, everyone. We appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Robert Card. So there were mental issues, but I will tell you this. There was an article because What is True, you sent it to me and I read it, and there was a yellow flag law
yes,
that did not allow him to purchase a silencer, which he was trying to purchase 5 days before the event, which at least that worked.
right. But
But the mental
the yellow
health,
law, excuse me, sorry. Go on.
no, I was just going to say, it seems like the mental health issue. I even read that the family had been telling the police and sheriff that he was a danger.
Yes, his family, his friends, his best friend. Um, but the thing was, and when he was saying that people were talking about him calling him a pedophile and whatnot, but no one, even now, has ever said that he was or they thought he was or anything. So that was something that he had decided that they were saying, but nobody else said that, even to this
Well,
day.
the recent articles that I've read is that now they think he was truly schizophrenic and he was just hearing things.
Right, right.
They really
And
think he was, you know,
I mean, I believe he was very ill. He had to have been to do what he did.
right.
He had to have been, but that's a lot of hate that he carried around. Um, he was hell bent on destruction for whatever reason it was. But I mean,
Can I cut in here and say something real quick?
If it's okay. Yes, and then I'm going to read this article, ladies, and then we're going to continue, okay?
Um, I looked into this and I watched some body cam footage, and he was in an ER and he was seeking help. And they asked him, part of what they asked him was why he was there. He did say he was hearing voices. And then he said, but he thought that they were the other people around him, whether it be at work or in public or at the store, whatever. He mentioned that he quit his job because of it. So, what I could see so far in some of this is that he needed some pretty serious mental health care.
oh,
Yeah,
absolutely, and he didn't get it, and that's why I said earlier he told everybody. So I believe he was seeking some assistance because he was very vocal. He had to have.
I do too. Yeah.
I
Now,
mean, it wasn't like
Crystal,
a secret he kept.
Crystal, didn't he tell police officers and military members both that he was going to do this?
Yes, and that he was very capable. Those were his words. I sent you a clip, I believe. And
Yes, I actually have that. We'll pull that up here in just a second.
and he did
Um,
say, yep, he was capable.
okay, that's why I'd like to read also if I could read this report real quick. Um, this is from News Center Maine. This is their webpage. And it says Lewiston mass shooting survivors work with attorneys to locate missteps that could have prevented the deadly attack. Attorneys said families want to see accountability from the military in its knowledge of Robert Card, who shot and killed the 18 and injured 13 in Lewiston on October 25th, 2005. Lewiston, Maine. Survivors and families of the victims who were killed in the Lewiston mass shooting of October where 18 were killed and 13 were injured are seeking legal support from our law firms. The focus of the representation, according to the attorneys, is to seek justice for the victims when it comes to the missteps in preventing the gunman from attacking in the first place. Two firms, Maine, Gideon, Aston, Berman, and Simmons, along with two national firms, National Trial Law, Koskoff, Bader, PC. The announcement comes days after the first month since the attack. Many families are still working toward understanding and process what happened. According to Ben Gideon, who said he and Ben and Simon fielded calls from victims' families and survivors in the days following the shooting. It's been really difficult for all the families, especially during the holidays. You feel losses the most acutely during that time period. Travis Bennon and Ben Berman and Simon said. The legal process can take years, and both attorneys told News Center Maine that they are also working with two national firms because they have experience with mass shooting cases. National Trial Law worked with Okay. All right. We're not going to go into all that because that's just back and forth banter between the. But y'all understand what they're saying, right? They're trying to hold the military accountable, which how could they even begin to hold them accountable if there wasn't some kind of proof that they had knowledge that he should have been red flagged? Am I following what you're saying there, Crystal, with this article and stuff?
Well, the first time he was hospitalized for 10 days, and that was in New York by the National Guard because his fellow service members and his best friend who happened to be there called them and said there was something he wasn't right and something needed to be done. And when they went there, they took him, but he got out 10 days later. He did against medical attention, I believe. But the yellow flag law here is when the police officers, there was a complaint, then they went to his home and they knocked on the door. Well, he hid, he didn't answer the door. So they decided to leave and they never checked back in. They never went back to confront him again. They just got busy, I guess. And at that point, they should have been able to go in and take his guns. And they didn't, because they didn't follow through with that first call from here in the state of Maine. And um, after that, there was just several. They just kept coming through, but they never followed up because he just wouldn't answer the door.
Right. And no, I completely get what you're saying. But what can we do? What can we do to help with this problem, with these people falling through the cracks? I mean, he says here, let me see if I can find this video real quick. Let me see if
I
I can
mean,
figure out
and there's
which one.
videos of him before this happened. And he was sociable. I mean, what people don't know was he played cornhole with the people that he shot at the bar, and he knew the people at the bowling alley. Um, so he had connections, and these people knew him. And there's video of him playing cornhole, drinking a beer, and acting like just one of the normal guys. So, and then 6 months later, here we are, and he's, getting his hearing aids, thinking people are talking about him. Um, but the mental illness part of it. But again, he was very vocal. He never, I think the problem that people have is there was never any follow up. It was so preventable because his guns would have been seized had they made contact with him. And so, because again, he's very vocal. So he would have told them, yeah, I am capable and I am going to kill people.
All right, you sent this in, and I'd like to play it real quick for our audience so we can get a little bit more clear view of him, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
It is
Bettina.
ridiculous how much furniture we have. It's
Uh,
crazy. And it's
looky there.
all available. We deliver every day.
We're
Come to
gonna mute
Chapter
that
11
while the
in
commercial
Lewiston today.
plays.
We have more sectionals than
Now,
anyone.
what is true? Did you say that they took his brain in and they're studying it? Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's at Boston University.
Yeah, Robert Card, in his own words, telling police he is, quote, capable of acting on threats that he made towards members of his unit. Now, before we show this video, we do want to warn you. We recognize some of you may find it disturbing or even unsettling to hear anything from this person.
But we want to bring this to you because it is an important part of the timeline and the search for why this happened. The I-Team's Dan Lamparello obtained this video just hours ago and joins us now live. Dan.
Well, guys, this
Trigger
afternoon,
warning.
the I-Team obtained body camera video from New York State Police. It was taken on July 16th. That was the day that...
For anyone that is, yes, trigger warning. Trigger warning. This is we're an adult channel and this is adult content. So trigger warning.
police took Robert Card from his military barracks to a hospital to be treated for mental health concerns. And as we've reported in the past, Card was at Camp Smith in New York, training with his reserve unit out of Saco. During that time, members of his unit reported he was acting erratically, hearing voices, and acting in a threatening manner. New York State Police were called to Camp Smith in New York and conducted interviews with Card and 5 members of his unit. One unit member told troopers that Card had experienced a decline in mental health over the past couple of months and that he began hearing others bad-mouthing him behind his back. The entire interview with Card lasted more than 10 minutes, but this is just one part of that exchange.
I hope you understand that they're concerned enough about your welfare that they called us.
Oh, because they're scared, because I'm going to friggin' do something, because I am capable.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Huh?
What do you mean by that?
Nothing. No.
Okay.
Now, after this exchange, police did take Card to a hospital to be mentally evaluated, and he stayed there for 2 weeks. And guys, this all comes as basically a big day for the commission that's investigating the Lewiston mass shootings. We heard from the state police today. They outlined challenges and delays in the search for Robert Card.
The weight on our shoulders to find Robert Card was immense.
Testifying in front of the independent commission investigating the Lewiston mass shooting, head of the Maine State Police, Colonel William Ross, outlined the challenges of processing 2 crime scenes while undertaking a manhunt.
This is extremely unique. It was extremely challenging for us to go through.
While law enforcement from across the region and country descended on the scenes, some even showing up on their own, members of the state police say it did create a communication breakdown at times.
People will hear of something on the radio and they rush to help, and you end up with hundreds of law enforcement officers at that scene.
Commission members also raised questions about delays in the search for Robert Card and why a canine unit wasn't used to track him after the discovery of his Subaru at the boat launch in Lisbon.
I know that was not a popular decision.
Major Lucas Hare says he told officers not to approach the car initially and instead used a helicopter to search the surrounding woods over fears Card could be planning an ambush.
Asking a patrol officer with their canine to go into the woods without the ability to see at night, using a white flashlight, shining it around as they walk through the woods against a person who has military training. And at that time, we believed a thermal scope. So no, I would say that from my position as a leader, that would be negligent.
Also during the hearing, a state police sergeant touched on his interaction with the Saginaw County Sheriff's deputy who tried making contact with Robert Card at his home before the shooting. Despite telling that deputy Card might pose a danger and not to knock on the door without a tactical team, the trooper says the deputy dismissed those warnings.
He responded by telling me, and this is not a quote, but I wasn't called there for my opinion.
Now, today we also learned the commission hopes to publish a preliminary report by April 1st. The next meeting is in early March, where they're expected to hear from members of the Army Reserve. As for the video of Robert Card we showed you earlier, the I-Team is going to be taking a closer look at what else he told officers. We're going to bring you more tomorrow night. For the I-Team.
Okay, so Crystal, there was obviously red flags. I'm not understanding how this man wasn't flagged, wasn't forced to seek treatment. I mean, he was clearly a threat.
Absolutely. I think that's the question we all have. You know, those families, friends, neighbors, our city has changed forever. It's I don't even know it's such a hard thing to talk about because I want to get the facts correct, but you know, there's emotion in there, and nothing is going to bring these families together again, no matter what. But it should have never happened. And again, I think we're all just questioning how it happened, why it happened. And
well, mentally, I wonder, did he like? I'm interested to see if schizophrenia can happen in someone of his age range so quickly, or what if, you know, like you said, his brain was sent off to be studied. Wonder if there was a brain tumor that could have been growing at a rapid rate that would have affected his brain in a certain way that made him be feeling schizophrenic in a way. Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like medically something was going on, and that the ball on what was medically going on got dropped in this situation big time.
I agree.
And
absolutely.
And I don't know whether it was mental illness, schizophrenia, some sort of brain tumor, or what it was. It's great to hear that they sent his brain off to be studied so they can see maybe what it seemed. Seems like he went off very quickly, or was it? How long was he? Do you know he was sort of off kilter?
From what I have read and seen, I think his decline started in February, and then it just kind of like picked up steam in July, and then just it was there was a lot of activity surrounding
So,
people calling and trying to
so,
inform.
so it was 6 months when it became, he declined in 6 months rapidly. And then at the 6 month mark, people started to kind of throw up the red flags. And then 3 months later, everything
Yeah,
blew up. So it was a
yeah.
9 month period. I
A
wonder what
9-month period.
I wonder what was really going on
Wow.
in that 9 months in that man's head.
Well, I do know that
And
the hearing aids were new, so I'm not sure if it, because obviously his hearing was going. So I don't know if the the wavelengths and the all of that stirred something up with the hearing aids. I don't know. I don't know. I'll be
well,
curious to find out
you
what happens with his brain when we get the
well,
results back.
I got hearing aids about a month ago, and I remember this case, and I remember them saying, "Oh, well, he was in a crowded area. He could hear other people talking." I've been wearing mine consistently now, and no, he was off kilter.
All
He
right.
thought his hearing aids. Your hearing aids just sound like you've turned up the volume inside your ears. That's it. You can't really hear. Like I can't hear what my teenagers are talking about in the other room.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I'm not like alien wired into. You know, if I
I
get
think
lost though, you can find me through my tracking system on my phone. If you have a hearing aid,
All
they're
right.
Bluetooth,
Well,
which is good.
ladies,
If I get
I'd like to,
lost,
if we could, I'd like to have Char and I'd like to have Becca weigh in a little bit on this and kind of just tell us what you think a little bit too. Char, especially you, because don't you have hearing aids too?
Not yet, but soon. I
Soon.
had a couple of questions for Crystal, and that was that who is it that you think was probably the prime person or persons that failed this man? I'm not making excuses for him by any means, but if he had a mental illness and people were seeing it, was there not? And he was in the what, National Guard or something like that? Is that what you said?
yes.
Yeah. Did did didn't anybody report to his superiors, hey, he's acting weird, and or the family members report it to whatever services that are available? Uh, Something's going on with him. I am
From
concerned.
Well, his sister-in-law, I believe, made several phone calls to try to get him help. Again, I that's what's out there. Um,
Yeah.
and his sister-in-law was the one that actually called in and said it's him. So, uh,
Wow.
she was the one that identified him as the shooter. But I would have to say, I there was just so many calls. Like I said, his family, his friends, his coworkers, people, the job that he had quit 2 weeks before, they had called and made complaints because they were concerned for people's safety, because he was just saying he was going to do things.
Who who were they
So
calling, Crystal?
they were calling the sheriff's department, the police
Ah,
departments. Yeah.
good.
So there was a lot of contact with the police. And again, that sheriff, the one sheriff that knocked on his door that was told not to, that he needed a tactical unit, just walked away and he never followed up.
I,
And that's huge.
yes.
I,
System
I
fails again.
yeah, the system failed. I don't believe his family and friends and the people, they were very, very forthcoming. So
Good.
this is not on them at all. They,
Oh no.
they definitely came forward and tried to help find him. And before this happened, like I said, the sister-in-law was trying to get him help because they knew they knew something was wrong and he wasn't healthy.
Yeah,
So,
I'm really surprised that the National Guard didn't
well,
pick up on something.
they're the ones that took him to the hospital in New York for that 10-day
Oh,
stay. So
wonderful then. Yeah.
that's the people that took him. So
Mm.
that was his only hospital stay, was the 10 days in New York.
My goodness. Needed a lot more than that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, my understanding
Yeah, he
on things
did.
like schizophrenia and all that is that it can happen late in life. Like it can hit you, and when you're in your 30s or 40s. I don't know how old this
Well,
person was, but
He was in his
I just
40s.
pulled it up and it says schizophrenia can occur at any age. The average age of onset tends to be in the late teens to the early 20s for men. Now he was 40. And the late 20s to early 30s for women. A 2020 study found the average age of onset for schizophrenia to be between 13 and 29 years old. It's interesting. I thought it happened much later in life.
I thought so too. That's why, but
Okay.
Because
mental
again,
health is such a tricky thing, and I do
I would
feel.
like to jump in here for a second. I would like to jump in here for a second because I a little bit, I know most of you know, but I had a very good friend. He was my best friend. His name was Kevin Reeves. Okay. He was schizophrenic. There are different types of schizophrenics. Some schizophrenics are violent, some are not. Some are passive, some are not. There are other things than just the schizophrenia at play whenever they start hearing bad voices and evil voices. Because Kevin, you know, the worst thing I ever seen him do was have an argument with himself, basically, about someone telling him he had to drink Pepsi instead of Coke. And it was legitimate. Like this man, he had to take medicine and stuff. And it was, but he was never aggressive. Does that make sense?
Yes, because there are different types. I mean, we have different experiences, different things that happen to us, different upbringings, different environments, and all of that takes comes into play. I mean, his service and him being a grenade specialist, I'm sure that came into play. So I agree. I definitely agree. There's different types of schizophrenia, and then there's the medication part. I know that some people struggle with taking the medications that they're prescribed because it makes them feel different and it makes them not always feel good. You know,
right.
it's some medicines make you feel worse, but in reality, they are keeping those demons at bay. But as the person suffering, you don't understand that. I mean, because technically, here's a question. Does a crazy person really know if they're crazy or not?
Exactly.
Isn't it
Oof.
technically if you don't think you're crazy, then that means you are, or something like that? Isn't that part of um, part of that slip down to mental health? It's like you think your behavior is okay.
I'm not sure.
I know insanity is repeating something over and over again, exactly the same, and expecting a different outcome eventually.
Like, well, I hear that because like I have my own mental health, but when um, I hear a lot of, well, I can't be crazy because I know I'm crazy. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, I
Correct.
don't know. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's
So
just,
Were there any drugs or alcohol involved that you know of? What is true? Did they ever share anything? Was he abusing alcohol or drugs at all?
no, that was never said. I mean, I can't
It
confirm or
was never
deny.
said.
No, I never heard
Okay.
anything.
All right. And so the first time he was ever hospitalized was for that one time in New York.
Right. Correct.
And how old was he when that happened? Just he
40.
was just
Yeah, I
10
believe it.
he spent 10 days only.
Yes.
Crystal, did
And we have
they?
no idea what they diagnosed him with because it's HIPAA laws, and we have no idea if they prescribed him anything.
Correct.
Crystal,
So I
did
have a, I
they?
have a,
But
Go
Shar,
ahead,
continue with your
Patty.
questions. You said you had a few questions.
Yeah, I did. The other one was if Crystal knows, um, do they do any kind of vetting or anything before someone goes in the National Guard?
Oh, I believe so. Yeah, there. I would imagine that they do,
Some
because
type of
people
a.
sometimes when they go through like boot camp and stuff, they they won't make it through because they'll find that they have issues, you know,
Mm.
with like authority or something, and then that, a lot of them will come. They'll do testing. So
So
as far as I know,
evidently,
they do look for that. Yes.
yeah. So evidently,
So
none of that was showing up at that time. Evidently.
No, but I believe he'd been in it for 20 years, so
Oh,
it
Hattie,
wa-
I didn't
it
realize.
wasn't anything new. I mean, in no way am I
Well,
trying to defend this man, but
No.
at all. I mean, for me, I despise what he did, and I despise him, and I despise the fear that he's left.
you said he was in the Army for 20 years?
The National Guard.
National Guard, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel for people who go through a lot of mental health issues, especially if they drive them to certain points like this. This was completely avoidable, though, and I feel for the victims too. So, I mean, that's what I have on it.
Oh, I feel bad for his family and his friends, and I mean, he had loved ones.
Yeah,
So I don't want to downplay, or because they had no part in it. He was his own person, and I'm sure he was well loved, and he had the forthright to he left a note, and in that note he left like bank numbers for his son, passwords. So
yeah, he was planning on. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, he had enough thought to think things through, to know that his son would be taken care of.
yeah, it's just
I hate
sad.
to interrupt, but Kathy wanted to know, was he institutionalized at a VA hospital or at a regular mental hospital?
I'm not sure. I can't definitely say, but I believe it was just a regular mental, not a VA. But I don't know for sure. So
Crystal, are you K-Bird has a question. How old was he the first time he was hospitalized?
I believe it was in July and the shootings were in October, so he would have been 40, I believe. I'm not sure when his birthday was, so he was either 39 or 40. Yeah, because he was hospitalized in July of 2023. The shootings happened October 25th
Yeah.
of
It
2023.
says 3 months. It says 3 months before deranged gunman Robert Card massacred 18 innocent people in Maine. The veteran was involuntarily committed to a mental health facility during training with his Army Reserve unit. So I would think that would mean if it's with his Army Reserve unit, then wouldn't that be through the VA hospital then?
I would
Um,
think so.
Yeah, I would think
I would
so.
think so.
I'm not sure that all VAs have that though. You know what I mean?
He spent 2 weeks in New York and returned to Maine on August 3rd.
Yeah.
So 2 months later, well, August, September, 3 months if you consider to the end of October. Wow.
I'm
Bottom
just
It's
line,
mind
curious
blowing.
if I'm just curious if there were any issues earlier because for him to be in the reserves, I mean, they do vet you beforehand and they put you through the training. Um, And so I can't help but think that he had a late onset of some type of schizophrenia, and what could have caused that to trigger, because people can get something so much as a virus and get sick, and then when they get well, something like that could trigger, you know so just
Hmm.
very curious, because it seemed to be a very rapid decline from the moment that he realized something was wrong. You could see he was trying to get help.
Yeah, that's what surprises me. It's a very fast decline for such a young person, that you would think people. I mean, people did notice, but it just the cards did not line up altogether, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Something got dropped along the way. The ball was dropped, because I know his parents had asked him to take away his guns.
Yeah, and that's what the yellow law flag law is if you are involuntarily placed in um, a mental health, they take your guns. And they go in and they take your guns. And I believe that the family would have helped them because they were the ones that were calling about him. And
So
like I said,
K-Bird,
his oops, sorry.
K-Bird said, so I think schizophrenia can be ruled out because he was 39 to 40 when his strange symptoms began. Schizophrenic behavior presents in teens to early 20s. That is that is correct 90% of the time. But as I'll show you right here, I want to show y'all something real quick. There is schizophrenia that is late onset schizophrenia right here. Oops.
Yeah, because I was just gonna agree with K Bird. Like, were there signs before this, like in his 20s or 30s? But it doesn't seem like there were any. So how does that
From
Right.
what
explain him being
from what I take of it, he was just a
kind of?
regular average Joe. He played cornhole with these people, he bowled with these people, he hung out, he I
But then
haven't
he
seen
started saying that
anything
he felt
bad.
like people were.
Late onset schizophrenia is diagnosed after age 45. People who have it are more likely to have symptoms like delusions and hallucinations. They're less likely to have negative symptoms, disorganized thoughts, impaired learning, or trouble understanding information.
Right. And he had it
So
well
they
thought
are the
out.
And so he thought
ones.
people. And he
Go
thought
ahead.
he thought he was hearing people claim that he was SAing children. That's what he was saying. He was hearing everybody in his mind at work and at the bars and everywhere he went. He kept saying he heard people saying that he was SAing children. So he was hallucinating and hearing things,
Correct,
Right.
because
because
if
all of that was not true, but that's what he was saying.
right, right, there was
That
never any
that's what
proof
I'm
of
trying to
that.
figure out. Like,
There was never any proof of
right,
that, and
right.
he never, like, anybody that's come forward has, that was never talked about from what people have said, you know,
Well,
which
there's
is
supposed to
sad.
be,
You
well,
mean
if you look
you mean
here,
it
there's
hasn't been
supposed,
proven that he was saying that? I thought that people said that yes, that's what he was saying to them. Has it
Oh
not
yeah,
been
he was
proven
saying
what
that,
is
but
true
I'm
that he was
saying
saying that?
there was there was no proof that he actually was that. So nobody was actually saying that. It was all a delusion in his mind. Like the people that knew him never claimed that he was a pedophile. Or sorry,
Right,
SA.
right. Gotcha.
Never.
Right.
It was his own delusion. So there was never.
yes, K Bird.
Right.
Yes, K Bird. Absolutely. Certain drugs, both legal and illegal, can cause these symptoms, especially if he abused them. Yes, schizophrenia can be a symptom of hard drug use. You are absolutely correct. It can mimic schizophrenia. Absolutely.
I will.
Absolutely.
I will
Now,
say
if
the
he
picture.
was
The picture they had of him that night of the shooting, he had lost a lot of weight. Um, so I mean, there was definitely a weight loss.
Crystal, you lived in the same area as this man?
Yeah, I lived well, from him where he lived in Lisbon, which is like 15 minutes probably from my house. But he was active in Lewiston. He was very active. Like I said, he went to the same bar that he shot people at. He was friends with those people. He played cornhole. And I'm not sure, I don't play cornhole, so I don't know how often, but I mean, it was a big thing and he
Yeah.
was part of it.
I
So,
just wondered if you ever recall seeing him around anywhere.
no, I've never seen him before. The first time I saw him was the night of that picture, and I believe Regina has it, but it's the scariest for me. It gives me, and I think it's so frightening because all I can imagine is the people at the other end of that long rifle and what they saw.
Absolutely. And there were children involved, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there was some children involved. Yeah, there was a father and son that were killed, and I think the son was 14, and then there was another 15-year-old that was shot but survived,
Oh
and there was
my.
children there. Yeah. Um,
Tom Van, hashtag FTA means hashtag feed the algorithm for the algorithm. It's just if you type it into chat, if you type in hashtag FTA, it literally puts our video out in the algorithm for people so we can start getting people aware and bringing them into the channel and stuff. And we'd so greatly appreciate it if y'all would give us a big thumbs up and a like. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. We're glad you're here. But we would ask that you do that and then hashtag FTA if you don't mind. And we appreciate it so much. All right, I'm sorry, ladies, back to what we were saying.
um, like I said, for me, I personally have taken away from this because you see it on TV and you see it happen, and everybody says the same thing. You never think it's going to happen, and it can happen anytime, anywhere, anytime, and it does. But I think for me, the fear and knowing that everyone around me is probably suffering the same fear, if not worse than I am. Um, and doing my part in trying to be kinder because I don't know what other people are going through. I have no idea. And being kind to someone, you never know if it could stop somebody from doing something like this man did. You don't know if it can lift somebody up from being a family member that went through this and lost their loved ones. It's just kindness can change things. It really can. And it's free, it doesn't cost a thing. And sharing a smile and just saying excuse me, saying I'm sorry, saying, you know, I hope you're having a good day. um like for me, I get irritated when I go to the deli counter. I don't know why, but I always have, and I think it's because they say, what do you want, and you're like, oh, I want a pound of roast beef, and then they go to do it and they're like, oh, you want a pound and a half? No, I want a pound. They're not listening. So even that, I mean, it's small, it's insignificant, but I'm trying to be a better person and show more patience and more kindness because
Well,
at
let
the end
me
of the
say,
day,
go ahead.
no, you can go ahead. I'm sorry. I said
Well,
everything wrong.
you are absolutely correct. And I work in the retail business, and our company coaches and preaches about how important it is for us to be feeding the human spirit, to treat our customers very well, because that does make a very big difference in their day, even if they're only there for 10 minutes. It's really important and it's so easy and it's free.
It
I have
is.
the biggest problem. Every time I go anywhere, I just chatter the customer counter woman to death. I talk to everybody. I get kind of obnoxious. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love your sweater. And before I know it, I'm like talking to this woman I don't even know. But it feels good inside because I do love
Right,
the sweater.
right.
And
Hollis,
then I
that's
go
kind of
about my
like
business.
Hollis,
I'm so
that's kind of
happy.
like that kind of a little bit reminds me of how me and you started out. We went from having one conversation to if we lived near each other, we'd be braiding each other's hair in like 10 minutes.
Exactly. But I find doing that because, if you go out and you're running errands and there's somebody behind a counter that you're interacting with and there's nobody there, I mean, they're a human just as me, and I always find whatever their stories are to be interesting. And I always try to uplift their day, no matter what, because why not? You've got nothing else. I don't have anything else better to do. All I'm going to do is go back in my car and drive home.
Yep, same here. Okay, ladies. Okay. Well, I don't know what to do in this situation to try to prevent this from happening again. I think it's like I think it's like what is true said. Whenever you see someone struggling like this, keep pushing to get them help and keep pushing to get them help. But maybe even keep reporting it and keep reporting it to authorities that this person is needing help. You know what I'm saying? I think because all the signs were there. I mean, they knew in the military he was dangerous. He told them he was capable of
Absolutely.
killing all
Could
his.
I,
Yeah.
We've
could I
seen the proof. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
back.
okay. I do think also that we as a society, like as far as doctors and people around us, because some people are like, well, that'll never happen here, or, well, yeah, they're a little off their rocker, but whatever. And I think when people start taking mental health
Oh,
seriously more, like law enforcement and all of that stuff, because I think it's all tied in together in a way. And that's my opinion on it. Because I unfortunately we're just going to see more and more of this kind of stuff um, until there's something more in our society that we just start to take it more seriously.
yes, I completely agree. We really have to start taking it more seriously, and we have to keep pushing and pushing. Whenever someone I a lot, but see, I understand the problem with that too, because at the same time, there are people that go tell the cops this happened. Look, this happened. This person is dangerous. And then what happens? Exactly like what just happened with Audrey Cunningham.
Regina,
Just like what happened. Yeah, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
can you throw up? Do we have a picture of the 18 victims? Because
Uh
somewhere in the bowling alley, it was a group of deaf kids, I believe, and the other ones were from. I didn't know how to pronounce that bar. What is true? How do you pronounce that bar? The bar and grill.
there she is. Welcome back.
Because I believe somewhere we have a picture of all the victims, the 18 victims,
Okay, hold on just a second.
which in
Yes,
my mind it means 32 parents. It just
I
the
have.
outreach of the pain that was inflicted and the horror. Because the bowling alley, that was a group of deaf people with their mentors out for the evening that night.
Okay, Hollis, we
And
don't
then
have the picture. There's no way I can pull the picture up with this article. It's just a thumbnail. But what I can do is every one of their I can read every one of their names off and share that. Hold on. Or better yet, I'll present it. Oh, Crystal, I don't know if Crystal can see it, so I'll just read it off real quick. Okay. Bill and Aaron Young. Bill Young, 44, of Winthrop, had taken his 14-year-old son Aaron to play in the youth bowling league at Just in Time Recreation. Both died. Bill was a dedicated man to his family. His cousin, Kim McConnell, told the Associated Press via social media. He was a master auto mechanic, always trying to be a funny guy. Aaron was an avid bowler who had received recognition from the Youth League. In a statement, the superintendent of Winthrop Public Schools confirmed that a high school freshman and his dad were among those killed. Jim Hodgkins said his uncle of another high school student was also killed. This is tremendously tragic for our area, our town, our students, and everyone. This is uncharted territory. Peyton Brewer Ross, a dedicated pipe fitter with Bath Iron Works. Peyton Brewer Ross is survived by a partner, young daughter, and friends, said members of his union. Brewer Ross of Bath was doing something he loved, playing cornhole and enjoying friends when he was shot to death at the bar, his brother said. He was a character. He didn't meet anyone he didn't like, Wellman Brewer said of his younger brother. Brewer Ross loved the game of cornhole so much that he bought out the angled boards and beanbags at family gatherings. He brought out the angled boards and beanbags at the family gatherings, his brother said. Joshua Seal. Joshua Seal, a sign language interpreter, was shot and killed while playing in a cornhole tournament at Shemini's. I don't
See,
know how to pronounce that.
that's what I couldn't figure out how to pronounce. Shemingis.
Shemingis. That sounds about right. That's what we're going to go with.
Shemingis.
With the other members of the deaf community. His wife Elizabeth Seal, said in Facebook post that he was just a wonderful husband, my best friend, and my soulmate. He was a wonderful boss, an incredible interpreter, a great friend, and loving son, brother, uncle, and grandson. Robert and Lucille Violette.
Now that was
Robert,
the married couple.
Yep. Robert and Lucille Violette. Retired Robert Violette, 76, and his wife Lucille, 73, died in the shooting. Bob devoted himself to his. Hollis, can you take over reading? I need a
Yeah, I could
drink.
tell your voice is going. Bob devoted himself to his volunteer job coaching the youth bowling league that was practicing that night, said Patrick Poulin, whose teenage son has been a member for 3 years. He's taught so many people over the years how to bowl, and he wasn't getting paid, he said. We've really been focused on trying to keep the sport alive, and Bob was really an integral part of that. Lucille Violette was a longtime employee of Lewiston Public Schools and bowled in a women's league and a couples league with Bob. According to her obituary, she was. Can you scroll it up, Regina? Oh, too much. Scroll down. Scroll down just a tad. One more. Oh, whoop. Go up one more. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. She was almost always at the bowling alley for youth bowling league days and extra practice sessions on Wednesday nights. She was lovingly referred to by some as the youth league mom because she offering kindness and nurturing to all and made close bonds with children and families, according to her obituary. She was unfailingly approachable and caring. Okay, sometimes kids are having a hard time for whatever reason, discouraged or something. He said he was great at picking them up and getting them to move along from that issue and get things going in the right directions. Okay. Michael De Solares and the second and Jason Walker. Best friends Michael De Solares and Jason Walker were shot at just-in-time recreation. They made sure their wives and several young children were under cover. Then they charged the shooter. Wow. De Solares' father, who shares the same name as his son, posted online. Walker and De Solares' father had worked together for the Sabatis Historical Society in Maine by capturing the personal stories of senior citizens in our community. over the last few years, the Historical Society posted. He freely volunteered his time and expertise to our society to capture the history of our town. It was not the least bit surprised to hear that he and his best friend since kindergarten lost their lives trying to protect others. De Solaris' sister, Vicky De Solaris Roy, posted online, I take comfort in knowing that they went together. De Solaris and Walker were both 51. Joe Walker was the bar manager at Sheminigan's Bar and Grill. His father, Auburn City Councilor Leroy Walker, told NBC News on Thursday that his son was shot twice in the stomach as he went after the shooter with a butcher knife. That is literally the worst. Okay. He died as a hero, he said. On Sunday, Leroy Walker was greeting people at a trick-or-treat event hosted by an organization he leads. He smiled broadly when the kids hugged him and accepted hugs from community members, but he became emotional when he spoke of his son, Joseph, who normally would have joined him at the event. It's been a tough few days. Trust me, the heart doesn't stop bleeding, he said. I miss him more. I miss him. I miss him every minute. I miss him more every day. Trisha Asselin worked part-time at the Just-in-Time Recreation Bowling Alley. She had Wednesday night off, but went bowling with her sister. Now, I remember this because her sister survived, and the sister had a daughter. When she realized shots were being fired inside the bowling alley, Asselin, 53, went to call 911 but was shot and killed, relatives said. Asselin had a great passion for life and was a loving mother, the most caring person there was. Her mother, Alicia Lachance, told NBC News. Asselin's cousin, Tammy Asselin, was at the bowling alley with her own daughter, Tony, who played in a youth bowling league on Wednesdays. They knew Trisha worked there, but they hadn't seen her yet that night. When she heard the gunfire, Tammy Asselin couldn't find her daughter and then tripped on some bowling bags and fell. Tammy and others tried to hide, getting a table to flip over and act as a wall near a corner booth. Her daughter had gotten to an exit and was safe, she found later. I never prayed so hard in my life as I did that night, she said. She was later told that Trisha didn't make it. She remembered her cousin as the most fun person. She was always happy-go-lucky, according to ABC News. The next victim was Arthur Strout, who was playing pool with his father at the bar. His son wanted to stay and play a couple more games, but his father, Arthur Bernard, left shortly before the shooting. I said, okay, and he said, I love you, because all my kids tell me that every time we see each other, Bernard told CBS News. 10 minutes later, I get a phone call. Strout, 42, and his wife, Christy, had a blended family of 5 children. He's helped me raise my children since they were very, very little, Christy Strout told CBS. His daughter's only 13 and without a dad because of all of this. Because of one man's choices, my daughter has to grow up without a father. Strout was a family-oriented person who loved playing pool and cooking Italian food. Bonnie Karen, the mother of his 23-year-old son, told the AP. He was murdered doing something he loved, Karen said. He was just all about having fun. Brian McFarland. Brian McFarland was 41, a commercial trucker and a member of the deaf community, was playing a cornhole tournament at the bar. McFarland grew up in Maine. He spent a lot of time in Vermont, where he became one of the first deaf people in the state to get a commercial truck driver's license. I remember him. According to his sister, Carrie Brooks, a favorite companion on the road was his dog, M&M, named after his favorite candy. Yeah, he drove a commercial truck driver's license, and he was deaf, and he was the very first one. Okay, McFarland would go to the bar every Wednesday to play cornhole, Brooks said. He was so dependable, Brooks. He was so dependable, a favorite companion on the road. Who is deaf, told WCSH-TV. He just loved socializing with the deaf community with his friends. He would give the shirt off his back to anybody. Stephen Vozella, 45, a U.S. Postal Service worker and a member of a deaf Regina, can you scroll up? Cornhole League. Scroll down. One more. Stephen Vozella, 45. Scroll down. One more, Regina. Yeah. A U.S. Postal Service worker and a member of a deaf cornhole league was playing with friends at the bar. He had much more life to live before it was stolen from him in an all-too-common senseless act of gun violence. Brian Renfro, the president of the National Association of, scroll up, Regina, letter carriers, said in a statement. Vozella was a member of Branch 241 of the labor union. He was also a member of the New England Deaf Cornhole, which planned to have a moment of silence for him at an upcoming tournament in November. The organization said he brought excitement and a huge smile to the game. Thomas Conrad, who was 34, worked as a general manager at the bowling alley. A coworker said what he remembers most about Conrad is his love of the kids. Every kid that came in, he wanted to make sure they had the best time they ever did at the bowling alley, Josh DeAngelos told WGME TV. DeAngelos was not working that night. Organizers of a fundraiser for his family said Conrad served in the U.S. Army, scroll up, Regina, including tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Wow, so we lost a soldier as well. Max Hathaway. Max Hathaway, 35, was a stay-at-home dad with 2 daughters and a third on the way. Hathaway, who enjoyed playing pool, was at the bar. His wife, Brenda, had left earlier when one of their children started to get fussy, the Boston Globe reported. He was a goofy, down-to-earth person, loved to joke around, and always had an uplifting attitude no matter what was going on, his sister Kelsey Hathaway said in a fundraising request online. Hathaway had been working on completing a bachelor's degree in business administration at the University of Southern Maine, his family said in a statement. He received his diploma in the mail on the day he was killed. Wow. Keith McNair was 64, of South Florida, was celebrating his birthday by visiting his son in Maine. His son, Breslin McNair, said he had asked his father to wait for him at the bar while he attended a meeting for about an hour. He was a good guy. He just wanted everybody to have as much fun as he was having, McNair told NBC. Breslin McNair told NBC. Always did his best to try and take care of people around him, and just one of the everybody else to have as much fun as he was having, he said. Keith McNair had worked for the Virgin Islands National Park, most recently as the chief of maintenance, his son said. Ronald Morin was 55, who was shot at the bar, is being remembered as a devoted family man. He had such an infectious personality, one of his sisters, Tanya Morissette, wrote in a fundraising request for his family. To know Ron was to instantly love him, she said. He was a man who always put others before himself and looked for the humor and positivity in even the most tragic circumstances. He has touched so many lives who are trying to reach out and provide support for his family however they are able. Morin worked as a sales merchandiser for Coca-Cola Beverages Northeast. He was an avid ice and floor hockey, softball, and cornhole player and liked to umpire softball, according to his obituary. That's a lot of fathers. And I'll just
13 others were wounded in the 2 mass shootings, including a 16-year-old, a man who helped get youth bowlers out the back door to safety, and a father of young 2 girls. Okay. Ladies, that is too many people lost because of a system failure. What do you guys want to add to that?
Well, I want to add this because I thought about this earlier today, and it's not,
Backstage.
I want to say that there's 18 victims, and in my opinion, that means 32 parents, right? If I do the math, that's 40. If there's 18 people and they all had 1 child each, I mean, you're looking at 58. I mean, and then grandparents. I mean, it's an unimaginable amount of probably 75 to at least 80 people, if not more, affected relative wise, lost a family member. And that's just being on the, the small side. it might even be bigger from one person who, I don't know, lost his mind, went crazy.
Well, and I know that some of those children there witnessed their fathers be killed at the bowling alley. So,
And the hard part for me, what is true is we all know he hit the bowling alley first and then the bar. And you hear about those men that went for him in the bowling alley. I mean, they tried to stop it and they gave their lives up trying to stop him. And it's just so sad that they couldn't stop him, because we wouldn't be here. I mean, we'd be here, but it wouldn't be so many victims, It's so sad that these people sacrificed their lives and yet he still was able to keep killing.
exactly.
That's
And
what breaks my heart as well.
Right, which brings us to another system failure, ladies. I know we've all been avoiding it. But y'all know what we got to talk about. Y'all know what we got to talk about, and it hit us all really hard.
Yeah, we had to take a 24-hour, 36-hour break.
Yeah, we did. It leads us that the system failure leads us right into Audrii Cunningham, though. So it's time, ladies. I think it's time we had the crime chat that we have been avoiding. Okay, it's time. What do y'all think? Are y'all ready for this?
Char?
I definitely have been avoiding this time, but yes, it is time.
Yeah. First of all, let's do this. I would like to play the news story. Everyone, trigger warning. Trigger warning. This is about Audrii Cunningham, the topic we're fixing to get into. And it is about a child that was unalived, who was murdered brutally by Don McDougal, the monster of monsters. It's a horrible situation. It's a horrible thing to happen. I think it was completely preventable, and it's time we had that conversation. So here we go. I'm gonna present this now, and we're gonna watch this, and then we're gonna talk a little bit. Oh, hold on a second. Is it not gonna? Where's the video? Here we go. Okay, what's going on here? Give me a second, you guys. I'm sorry.
And I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. We appreciate it so much. We really do.
Okay, it's not gonna let us. Something janky's going on. Something janky's going on.
When you share the page, make sure you have sound on clicked.
Oh, I do. I have it clicked. It's not that. It's not. There it goes. There it goes.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the lovely comment. I'm glad that you like us.
Oh, thank you so much.
We're kind of crazy.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, we're just a group of women that love to talk true crime, and we are set out to try. We're going to do what we can to change the world and maybe slow a little bit of this madness down.
And we have
Audrii
so
Cunningham
many
after she
cases
went
to
missing
talk
on her
about.
way to school last week. We found his criminal record, which includes convictions for assault and enticing a child. The victim in that case is Carissa Davis, and she's speaking out. She's sharing her story. Just like Audrii, her family was also friends with McDougal until she was forced to fight him off.
We're going to start this over. All righty then. Okay. Well, now where's the sound? What just happened? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? I lost my sound.
After that
Can y'all hear
incident,
that?
McDougal was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but he got credit for nearly 1.5 years served. He was also never required to register as a sex offender, which is something Davis believes failed both her and Audrii.
A vigil remembering the 11-year-old's life was held last night in her hometown of Livingston. We're told that her funeral is tomorrow and she will be buried on Saturday.
Tonight, local letter carriers say they are simply done risking their safety and their lives while they're on the clock. They're not going to do it.
Okay, so I know that really sucked. That news report sucked, ladies, and I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to do all this and try to get everything rolling. But yeah, here's the news. The news has been broken. Audrii Cunningham found deceased yesterday in Trinity River, near a bridge area underneath in the water, 5 miles from where her backpack and stuff was found. And she was weighted down. Trigger warning, you guys. She was weighted down in the water by a huge rock, tied to a huge rock. And the cause of death is blunt force trauma. The cause of death is blunt force trauma. And as you all know, now we got to talk about, because I can't spend a lot of time. I can't spend. I don't think I can go very deep into the deeper aspects of this right now, the forensic aspects of it. But what I do want to talk about is how our system has let Audrii down. How everyone is all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, Don McDougal was a monster. He did this. He did this. He did this." Why didn't anyone do anything about it while Audrii was still alive, you guys? You guys, come on. What are y'all feeling right now and thinking about? Are y'all sharing my same sentiment?
I know I am. I think it's the mental health system has let her down, as well as the public in general. I feel that it's overwhelming for me to talk about right now. It just came back fresh to me again, and it's a child. That's what I have to say. It's one of our children, our future, that was taken from us by a crazy person.
That's yeah. It's just like with the mental health, like Char was saying. You know, if you see something, say something. If you have a gut feeling on something, say something. Like that's how you're gonna fix it. Is if you keep like pointing out to this stuff and saying like this is wrong and there's something up with it. And law enforcement and police and healthcare providers and everyone who's of some sort of authority needs to start taking stuff like that seriously.
Well, the part
I
that bothers me too is that I had just recently read an article that stated that in his enticing a child charge, it was because he was pulling a child's pants down. Now,
Ladies.
you know, come on, this guy's been charged twice with enticing a child and he doesn't have to register. I
this
have a
man
problem with
th-
that.
this man was straight up criminal, and they totally completely let him fall through the cracks, and no one followed through with the incident that happened in August when he stabbed someone 3 times. He should have been behind bars.
Yeah, good evening, John. 24 hours after saying he still hoped Audrii Cunningham would be found.
And welcome to Washington. I'm John Roberts in for Brett Baer. And breaking tonight, new information on the 11-year-old girl. Welcome to Washington. Missing
I'm
since
John
leaving
Roberts
home to
in
catch
for
a
Brett
school
Baer.
bus
And
last
breaking tonight,
Thursday. New
in East
information
Texas.
on the
Chief
11-year-old
correspondent
girl.
Jonathan Hunt
Missing
has
the latest for us this evening. Jonathan, unfortunately, it's bad news.
Yeah, good evening, John. 24 hours after saying he still hoped Audrii Cunningham would be found
Can
alive,
y'all hear
it
that?
fell to Sheriff Byron Lyons to deliver heartbreaking news late this afternoon.
I sadly announce that Audrey's body was located at the Trinity River on the U.S. Highway 59. My heart aches with this news, and I express with my deepest sympathies and condolences to everyone who knew, who cared for, and loved Audrey.
Police have been questioning 42-year-old Don Stephen McDougal as a person of interest in Audrey's disappearance. McDougal has a long criminal record and lives in a camper van behind the home where Audrey lived with her father, about an hour north of Houston. Police say McDougal admitted he left the property with Audrey to take her to her school bus stop just before 7 a.m. last Thursday, something he apparently had done on several previous occasions. Audrey never got on the bus and never made it to school. McDougal officials say he will now be charged with murder.
Based on all of the evidence that law enforcement has collected, they are in the process of preparing the appropriate arrest warrants for Don Stephen McDougal. At this time, we believe the appropriate arrest warrant is going to be for capital murder in the death of Audrii Cunningham.
And the district attorney says that if the evidence in this case supports it, prosecutors will seek the death penalty. John?
Jonathan Hunt with the latest on that sad tale. John?
Did y'all hear that?
I did.
Ladies, tied to a rock and thrown in a river like trash.
Can't imagine.
That man should have never, ever, ever, ever been around children. He should have never been allowed to live on that property. I'm scared there are things that we don't know in the past that might have happened between him and Audrey. We don't know. But he was there and he was a predator. And it makes me sick to my stomach that literally when you look at his record, he was a revolving door. He never did time until finally he did 3 years, but still, that man should not have been, he should have been a registered sex offender. No doubt. And I'm shocked that he didn't have to.
Which brings me to Regina. I'd like you to talk to everyone about the petition that you've put out just for this situation and other children.
Okay. So the reason that Don McDougal was allowed to live at the address where Audrey lived was because he was not registered. He was not a registered offender. Had he been a registered offender, he would not have been allowed to live at an address with a child that was registered at school, right? So we can't change the family dynamic and who the parents have around their children. But the one thing that we can do, you guys, and this is so important, the one thing that we can do is implement the law so that felons convicted, child enticement felons. Now there are two set. We broke this down in our video a few days ago. Go back and watch it. It's called Audrey Cunningham answers question mark question mark question mark. It breaks down the law and it explains the difference between a misdemeanor and a felon child enticement charge. But to get into that a little bit, the misdemeanor is just enticing a child away from their parents. For the felony, which is what Don McDougal was charged with, it's subsection B under the law or penal code 25.04. There's subsection A and there's subsection B. Felon is subsection B, which is they have to prove by the time of trial that there is evidence that the person that was enticing the child, that the person had every intention of causing or committing a felony against that child. Well, there are only so many types of felonies you can commit. There are, and all of them are abuse. All of them are abuse. And we're just going to leave it at that. But he was convicted of child touching inappropriately with his enticing conviction, which is actually in my opinion, reason for him to need to be a registered offender because he was a child predator. So this what we're trying to implement is called Audrey's Law, and it is mandatory registration for convicted child enticement felons. As a mother, I have witnessed firsthand the shortcomings of our legal system when it comes to protecting our children. Our children are the future, yet they are being robbed of their potential by those who would exploit their innocence. This is why we need to implement Audrey's Law, a law that would require all convicted offenders of child enticement felons to register by law. In the United States alone, an estimated 60% of child sex offenders are not registered. Source: National Center for Missing and Exploiting Children. This leaves countless communities unaware and unprotected from potential threats living amongst them. The implementation of Audrey's Law would ensure that those individuals are held accountable for their actions even after serving their sentences. By requiring mandatory registration for those felons, we can provide parents and communities with crucial information needed to keep our children safe. We owe it to our children to create a world where they can grow without fear. Please sign this petition and join us in demanding the implementation of Audrey's Law. Together, we can make a difference in safeguarding our children's future. Sorry, guys, give me just a second. Y'all go ahead and just give me a.
I personally can't believe that something like this um, hasn't already been implemented. Implemented. I don't know how to say this word, but like just the fact that a grown adult like tries to entice a child and there's not some sort of like you would think that would be straight up like sex offender add them to a list like because what that's just like mind blowing to me that this isn't already something.
I'm with you. I think that these these monsters need to stop getting easier sentences. Like, don't give them deals. They don't deserve a deal. Why plead down? Why are we allowing them? We're allowing them to not be on a registry by letting them plead down. They shouldn't be allowed.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on plea deals to begin with, like in the justice system. But yeah, I think that um, I think that it's just ridiculous that a man has been out there doing this to multiple children, and there was just it was allowed. Like technically, um, there was no list. Nobody knew about it. If the mother knew about it, then he probably would have been nowhere near the kid. Like, it's ridiculous to me.
You
It's
guys,
wrong. It's very wrong. Bottom line, it's wrong. They shouldn't be allowed to be able to plead out when it comes to children. Enough is enough. Something needs to end. Something needs to stop because allowing him to plead out got us here.
Yeah.
you
What's
guys,
even worse is that
the
he
thing
toyed
is,
with law enforcement, and that's even more disgusting to me. He made a mother wait that long, and it's just ugh. It just makes me sick to my stomach that
We
you
have
know.
all seen. We have all seen how he convinced this poor girl's mama. You guys, he convinced this poor girl's mama that she was going to get to see her child,
Yeah,
and she
he messed
never
with the
got to
mother.
see her daughter.
The grooming that he did to this poor child, we don't know. We don't know what he was telling Audrey. We don't, making promises to her about seeing her mother that she obviously probably had questions about and wanted to see.
Hey,
Because she
Regina, what is true is trying to get back into StreamYard. I think she's having a problem.
She's already in here.
Oh, oh, it was an old post. Sorry. You're right. I was reading the comments at the bottom.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to catch up. I did not realize exactly how far behind in comment, how easy you guys. I'm so new to this, and I'm so far behind in comments and stuff. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm
stop
green.
apologizing. You're doing
Who's
fantastic.
Aaron Hernandez, Miss Brazzy? Who's that? Miss Brazzy said they sent Aaron Hernandez's brain in for testing. I
He
just
was
don't
the
know who he.
football player, the Patriots football player, the
Mine
one
too,
that
Paige. This case makes my blood boil, and you guys, it breaks my heart. I've sat down so many times to try and make a memorial video for Audrey Cunningham.
Were you
And
able to?
I still, every time I sit down, Hollis,
You couldn't do
no,
it. I knew you
I just,
couldn't.
I'm sorry, I just can't put a video together about a little girl being brutally murdered.
I agree with you. It's awful.
Not yet. I'll get there, but right now it's still kind of raw because I have a daughter. I have a daughter. I went through horrible things when I was young. Y'all know that. Y'all know my story. Or, you ladies do.
It's just what's shocking to me is how someone thinks that they could actually get away with something like this.
Paige,
Like that's
that
what blows my mind. I mean,
that's right there, Paige. Exactly what you just said. Why on earth would anyone let a man watch their preteen daughter and have access to her at any time? Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you, Paige.
yes.
Thank you. Exactly. Miss Brazzy, I
I mean, I
completely
don't know
understand.
about the grandmother. I don't know about the father, but all I know is that Audrey was not in a safe place
At
I
all.
agree.
at all. I mean, that was not a place for an 11-year-old child to be raised. And I feel so bad for this mother who wanted her child back desperately. And under the guise that she was actually going to get to see her daughter, this man did this. It's horrifying. I can't even imagine what
What
that
I'm
mother
about
must
to
feel like.
say, if I could just add something, can you hear me?
I can
Yeah,
hear you.
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Trigger warning for what I'm about to say. I hope this monster that did this to Audrey dies 1,000 deaths behind those bars before he takes his last breath. Because there's honor among thieves. So in the prison system, he is not going to be, he'll be dealt with. And I hope he dies 1,000 deaths. That's all I want to say.
I agree with you. I do. I know that the fact that the father comes to question for me as well. I have questions as to what he knew, how long he knew, what he knew of this man's background. to allow him anywhere near his daughter.
Okay, well, I'm not allowed to show documents on YouTube anymore because YouTube is getting so uh restricted and so edited and so but this is our platform, you guys. It's what we have to work with. So, but we're not allowed to show documents. So I'm just going to tell you, and I know some of y'all have seen them, and there's another channel I sent them to, and she showed them right before the regulations changed. But Audrey's father has a violent criminal history from back in 2011 or 2010. I don't remember exactly which, but he has an assault with bodily injury conviction. He spent some time locked up over his conviction. And whenever you are a parent, and if your kid does something violent and you're that loving parent, and okay, it was your kid, you bail them out, everything's okay. Well, I hate to say it, but if you have, it's normalized. It becomes normalized for someone to have a story of why they were arrested for causing bodily injury to someone. You see what I'm saying? Are y'all picking up what I'm laying down here?
I am. Yes.
I am too. Yes.
Okay, so because the father himself had a little bit of a, evidently he got drunk and got in a fight or something. We know he's capable of violence, right? And that was explained, and he was still allowed to be around his daughter even though he had that violent history. So when you look at it like this, that can be explained, I'm sure, to his mom and dad. His mom and dad have been explained why he was violent. Well, who's to say that they didn't know he had some kind of criminal violence going on, and it was normalized because he told them his story. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep, I do.
I mean, if you can dismiss it for your child, well, if their friend gets in the same kind of trouble, you can dismiss it for them too, right?
Exactly.
Megan, I know. Dawn McDougal. I made a video, the first video I made about Audrey Cunningham's story. I posted in there there's pictures of legal documents and stuff. You guys feel free to go back and look at that video and look at his criminal history. It was like reading the entire series of National Geographic, okay? It's that long. It's
Now,
like a
Regina,
novel
how come you can't post documents? People post documents all the time.
because YouTube's thing just changed.
When did it change?
That I have to go now. Everything I post has to be pre-edited, and it can't have names, birthdates, address, anything like that on it. All it can have is like the actual name of the charges and stuff without, I mean,
It
it's
all has to be redacted, right?
completely redacted.
I've heard about that from the docket. Hey, I
Yep.
just want to give a shout out to the docket because Kathy was in here earlier, but she's already gone. If y'all want to
Oh, I
watch,
love the docket. You guys
I'm
should go
telling
check
you
them
guys,
out.
if you want to watch a really good channel that's covering trials, and then they talk and they discuss things in between the breaks and whatnot, and he even will pause it just a little bit and zoom in on evidence, because you know how they'll take a break for 15 minutes and you're just stuck looking at the emblem and the flag. Well, he'll take time to zoom into evidence because he knows he can eat into that 15 minutes, which is really cool. And yeah, it's called The Docket, and he'll cover a trial. He was doing, he did the Adam Montgomery trial, and then went into Ruby Frankie, and he was also recording Doberman at the same time. So there's a lot of trials that he covers during the daytime if you're into watching court trials. He's wonderful. Really good commentary, and he goes for the good trials. Oh, and he's also saying that Rust starts tomorrow with Alec Baldwin. So he's going to be shuffling through a couple of court trials all during the day tomorrow at the docket. So enjoy his programming, his YouTube channel. I love him. I watch him. I don't hear anybody.
I'm here.
Oh, I didn't realize I was muted. I'm so
Oh,
I thought
sorry.
somebody
there you
was
go,
muted.
Regina. Remember, you got to look at your chat.
I gotta look at my chat. um, but the thing is we have to change the law for this child enticement law because while the child enticement misdemeanor does not have the factor of proof that they were going to commit a felony against a child, the felony one does, and that's the one that we need to get on the registry because child enticement from a parent, there's so many different ways a child can be enticed, but the felony one is the one that is a specific to felony. There's proof, they have proof during the time of the conviction or the trial that they intended to commit a felony against that child. There are only so many felonies you can commit against a child, and every one of them are abuse. So whenever it comes to the felony child enticement law, it has to be changed. It has to be. Or else it's going to keep continuing. This man, if he had been on a registry, let me explain this to you. If he had been on a registry, he never would have been allowed to live at the same address as a child that was registered for school.
Correct.
Do you see what I mean? If he didn't live on the property, he would not have had ready access to her.
What is true, if you have to go, thank you so much for being here and sharing this whole Robert Card experience that
Yes.
literally
Thank you
happened in
so
your
much. What
backyard.
is true? You did
Um,
such a good job covering it, and I'm so glad we got to do it. And I know we didn't get to get everything in there that we wanted to, but I'm so glad that we got to cover it from your standpoint and your perspective, especially since you were right there and had so much information on it and knowledge. And I'm gonna keep looking deeper into how we can change that too.
yeah,
Well, thank you.
what is true stayed up all night and then the next morning, well, yeah, she went out searching for him. She actually did, boots on the ground, like shout out to you and taking video footage and all of that. And
Yes,
you
I
know,
want
I'm
to.
sorry it happened in your area. I'm sure it's heartbreaking. I can't even imagine the change or the mood of the town.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I had no idea the depth that you've gone through to get this out of what went on there. I appreciate it because it opens up other areas for us to think about in the future. I really appreciate it so much, Crystal. You did an excellent job.
Thank you
Yes,
so
she did.
much for having me. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen. And, I just hope that people can learn acceptance of what they may not understand and open their hearts to maybe just be a little bit more kinder because it could make a difference. You may never know, but you could save a life with just a smile.
Amen. Can I get an amen?
Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate you, and you all have a wonderful evening.
You too, what
All
is
right.
true. Good night, sweetie. Thanks so much for being here.
We
Thank
love you,
you.
Crystal. Get you some
Love
good
you
rest,
also.
girl.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye. Okay. And also, before we go, I would just like to talk a little bit about um, Harmony Montgomery. Today, Adam Montgomery was convicted for the murder of Harmony Montgomery. But here's the thing, and I know that y'all are probably having some similar thoughts. Is he ever going to give up her body? Is she ever going to be laid to rest? Now that the conviction has come, is there going to be any rest for little Harmony Montgomery?
I
I
have no
I pray
answer for
for
that.
it.
I hope so, but I don't. I mean, he's the only one that knows where she is,
Right.
and it's so
See,
horrific. I can't even imagine that. If she's in one spot altogether, maybe she's resting in peace already. She's resting in peace already, but where is her? Where is the the physical parts of her? Who knows? They could be scattered. They could be together. It could just be bones at this point. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think she is probably wherever her little bones rest or wherever they are. I'm sure she's just bones by now.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, there's part of me that just the family. I don't know that it would matter what was left if they just had something that they could maybe bury in a family burial or something so that they could pay respect to her and talk to her. I just think that this monster isn't going to give anything up unless he gets something for it. That's my opinion.
Um, Miss Miss Beautiful Missy Ball, she wrote, I have said it before and I'll say it again and again. Sentences for child predators are too light and it starts at the top. Until our lawmakers are called out and held responsible, it won't change. I know, beautiful.
She's
She's
absolutely right. Absolutely
yep,
right.
yep.
And I don't care
As,
how many petitions are out there, sign as many as you can. I even wrote to the governor, Governor Abbott. I went to a Facebook page and left a message. Anything just to say, hey, why did Audrii Cunningham, why is she gone now? Why did this mother wake up the other day with a totally different reality from all of us other mothers, which is horrifying. So, and in my opinion, I think that Kayla Montgomery, I'm sorry, but I put her behind bars too for a very, very long time. I'm surprised she's not going to go behind bars.
yeah, me
Now,
I
too.
is
don't care. She needs to be behind bars for just, I mean, come on.
is
We're not
Kayla the
stupid.
dark-headed girl?
And
Hollis?
like on the docket this
That's
morning,
that's Adam Montgomery's ex old lady, I do believe, or I don't know if they were. I forget if they were married. Like there was so much go on in that case, like listening to testimony and stuff. I kind of forgot how the actors were connected, if that makes sense.
well,
Yes.
Kayla Montgomery is married to Adam Montgomery, but Kayla had two boys, and Harmony was Adam's daughter. So they
And
had the three kids. They had Harmony and her two boys, and they were married. And she has not divorced him yet.
She
uh,
hasn't.
she
No,
probably
and they
won't.
walked around with her in that tote bag, carted her with her two kids in a stroller, Harmony in a tote bag to his place of business. Then she was put up in the ceiling. Then they purchased limestone, not lye, but they purchased limestone because limestone doesn't help in decomposition. What it does is it takes away the odor of decomposition. So
Yeah.
while they
Yes,
slept, they didn't have to smell it in the ceiling,
correct.
which is disgusting.
Well,
So from the
Kayla,
ceiling, from there, we don't know. We know that, she was put in the bathtub and, squeezed out juices. And You know, it's horrific to
Oh,
yeah,
Hollis,
yeah.
girl. Yeah.
And Kayla participated in
Trigger
that.
warning, folks. Trigger warning.
Yeah, and then went out and sat down in the living room with her 2 boys. You can't tell me that woman should not be just as much behind bars.
She is behind bars for
Well,
18
but
months
she
is
gets
all.
out very soon.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Oh, it's
And those
18
2 boys should
years.
not be under her care.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
who
She
knows
is.
where Harmony Montgomery is, but rest her soul. Her father is behind bars for the rest of his life. He'll never see the light of day.
Miss Brazzy, you and me both, darling. You and me both. 10 minutes in a room alone with him. And I don't want a knife. I don't want a gun. I don't want anything like that. Just give me a thumbtack, darling. A thumbtack.
Go, Regina. Yeah.
Y'all give me 10 minutes alone with any of these dudes with the thumbtack and they'll spill everything. I promise you, they won't have a secret left to their names.
Well, I'm not against men, but honestly, guys, I'm sick of seeing these little girls being, you know, predators going after all these little girls and all these kids, even little boys. There's a little boy missing.
There's another case. There's another
Yeah,
case we're fixing to get into.
it's awful. These predators
Yep.
of our children.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and I don't, you know, I'm just, it upsets me because it's not fair to them. They're so innocent.
Well, y'all aren't going to believe this. We planned on going live for like an hour and a half, maybe 30 minutes to an hour and a half tops. And we are already at 2 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes. Ha ha ha. 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 26 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up, ladies, if that's okay. I need to tinkle so bad. My eyes have floated to the top of my skull. Like I look bug eyed and they're just kind of wobbling around, doing their own thing.
I
So,
haven't drank enough water. I look like a dehydrated camel.
a dehydrated camel. Oh, Lord have mercy, Hollis. Sweet
And I
Jesus,
know
you're way with
Char,
words.
you know what Char wants to do. She's going to open that drawer and start
No.
crinkling her Snickers papers.
No, I gave them up.
You gave up your Snickers?
I gave them up.
What did you replace them with?
I haven't replaced them with anything.
I bet you're going to replace them with cookies.
No, not cookies. I'm not a cookie, cake, pie person. You know, it was just Snickers, but I decided, no more. I can't do that. Goes in my mouth, settles in my, where, and it's not attractive anymore. So, plus, when you fall down and hurt your knee and you're carrying extra weight, it's really hard to get around. So I said, okay, it's only me that can do anything about it, and I'm done.
Were you carrying, but here's the thing, were you carrying Snickers in both pockets when you fell down?
Hollis, don't be so personal.
ladies, ladies, we have a Discord and we have each other's phone numbers. I'm going to end that on that note.
Good night. It's been so much fun.
Good night.
Char, What is True, Sammy, everybody.
It's been great.
Yes, you guys, I would like to give a shout out to our mods, Low 12, What is True, and Midwest. And I would like to give a shout out to everyone that joined us tonight. Kells, Midwest, Miss Brazzy, beautiful Messy Ball. Let's see here. We had Kathy come in, Paige. Oh my gosh, and Happy Faces. You guys, I haven't seen some of you in so long, and it just makes my heart feel so good to see you guys. Y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea how happy I
The
am to see
docket's
y'all.
in here. Oh, hi, Eric, the docket.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Docket. Hello, you guys. Like I said, I don't know if anyone has it. One of our mods, if they can, please share his link, the docket's link. I am a member of the docket, okay? I love the docket. So you guys got to go subscribe too. Thank you for joining us, docket. Thank you. Um, but with that said, we have been live for 2 hours and 5 minutes now, and my eyes literally are going to float away. And there's going to be an ocean flow out the side of my head if I don't go tinkle soon. So,
Well, it's been great. Wonderful chat. Lots of information. Great research. I'm really impressed.
we are going to be having a lot more lives and a lot more streams. But we are a group of women. All of us are, we have our, so far as just women, but we have our lives and we have everything going on. But we just really enjoy true crime. Sometimes it's hard to do true crime, especially with these cases covering these children. But it is so important that we cover these cases because we need to figure out where the opportunity is to prevent it, to have less and less true crime stories about these children out there, you guys. So please go sign. If my mods would please one more time uh put up the link for the petition for Audrey's law. Um and hashtag FTA, everyone, if you would please hit that like and subscribe. Treat each other with kindness and compassion. And we appreciate you all joining us here tonight. And we will be seeing you soon. Thank you for joining us. Hollis and Char, good night, my loves. And to each and every one of you, in the words of Nancy Grace, I guess. Good night, friends.
Good night,
Good
gals.
night.